All right.
Looks good, sounds good.
All right, so
You just got back from SHOT Show. I didn't go this year,
all
but
right, good old Las Vegas. It's nice to be home. It is nice to be home. But it was a wild year. It's definitely gonna be an interesting year for the gun industry for sure.
so I didn't go this year. I've gone. I don't know how many of the last couple besides 2020. We didn't have it, or 2021. It got canceled, right?
I think I started going. I started going in 2012. The first one I skipped from 2012 was the year COVID canceled it, and then the one after that I didn't go, and then I've been back ever since.
You're at least 8-9 years in.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of SHOT Shows. I wish they would bounce that thing around.
I think
Vegas.
I've gone to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The big thing with SHOT Show is most years people just go and they're incredibly disappointed because there's not a lot of cool stuff released. And that's definitely been the last couple of years.
There's been like a ton of innovation. There's not been like a ton of new stuff. There might be like a hodgepodge, but like this year was crazy. Like just Palmetto State Armory was wild. And granted, a lot of their stuff is coming soon or concept, but the amount of stuff that they teased or released is just insane.
This is the year that I think everybody's been waiting for, where people are actually releasing new products. It's not, oh, we're making the same AR we've made forever, but we slightly changed one feature on the rail, and we're calling it, massive innovation. This is actual new guns that are not based off an AR, a Glock, or a 1911, and this is kind of the year of 2011 clones. Like I saw more budget 2011 clones. That's kind of annoying. There's the AR9 train is still running, but we had multiple lever guns. We had the Hudson H9.
Yeah, so couple cool guns to talk about. We'll start with Daniel Defense. So Daniel Defense re-released the Hudson H9, which is now called the Daniel H9. Cool gun. Actually got one. Got to do a review. Put 1,000 rounds through it. It's a smooth shooting gun. It's pretty cool, but I think they're gonna have them at dealers already. Like I think you're gonna have a decent shot at getting one. And the price point is $1,300, which is halfway decent. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's expensive for a handgun, but SIG's got comparable handguns in that price range.
You're getting an all metal gun.
It is all metal. Yep.
It is not just a Glock with a metal frame or a SIG P320.
Yeah.
With a metal frame. This is an actual new gun from a company that has long-standing history. Daniel's. It's very unlikely that you're not going to have factory support from Daniel Defense.
Correct. And there's a lot of people asking. So, like, I put up a couple videos on YouTube, did a breakdown, and everybody's asking about the interchangeability of the parts. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot. I think Daniel took what was wrong with the Hudson and tried to fix it.
So I did see one video on there, and the Daniel rep said that there's only one part in the entire gun, and it's a spring.
Yeah.
I think like a trigger return spring.
Yeah.
So
that, unfortunately, the problems that they had and the things that broke in the Hudson are still going to remain broke. And they can try to be mad at Daniel for that, but they literally had to rework this gun so the gun ran, and it didn't break. So you can't be too mad at them for trying to make the gun work. But also Daniel announced a PCC. It's not available. I think it'll probably be, it's going to be sometime this year. A lot of companies said Q2. What that means is anywhere,
Q4, 2025,
or anywhere in those 3 months of Q2. But who knows? The PCC felt really good. It felt Daniel Defense. It was solid. The rail was good. Lockup was good, and they're going to use CZ Scorpion mags. And as somebody who has a buttload of CZ Scorpion mags, I'm like, okay.
The big problem I have with AR9s is everyone I've shot is either they're not really a good training tool for a full-size AR because the recoil impulse is either like nothing or there's a crap ton of...
Yeah, it's a lot different. They have their space, and I think a lot of where AR9s are winning right now, for whatever reason, are like city law enforcement, metropolitan law enforcement agencies. Because you don't have the over-penetration of the 5.56 round. And
it's an ammo selection issue, but...
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, I just think they're really popular in that aspect. And I think a lot of foreign military and law enforcement agencies like the AR-9 or, subcompact 9, rifles.
B&T's been winning a ton of contracts around the world at countries that you wouldn't really think would be spending that kind of money on 9mm
So
platforms.
I went by the B&T booth. Also, we were supposed to have Brad on here, and unfortunately,
Micah we have at home.
Yeah, Micah at home. If you're Grand Thumb, our Brad looks like Micah's not twin brother, but they're very similar. If we'd get him some like 80s clear rim glasses,
I think I need to buy some online and just ship them to him.
yeah. So he's our Micah at home. So he went to SHOT. It was his first time. We were really hoping to get his kind of perspective on what a first time shot goer would experience.
Yeah, but his wife's been dealing with sick kids all week while he's been off in Vegas. So it's
So he obviously had to he had to bail out on us, which I understand. But we went to the B&T booth, and it's awesome. Talked to one of their engineers, showed us their little like covert. I can't remember the model.
300 blackout.
No, I think this one was the. This might have been the 9. It was like the GMH9 that folded up.
Gotcha.
I can't remember. Cool, yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but he showed it to us, and I was like, "Dang, it folded down." It was pretty cool. But
I think they call it the SPR. Have you seen their bolt action 300 blackout? Integrally suppressed, or it's not integrally suppressed, but it's an over the barrel suppressor. That now has a 1 in 5 twist.
Oh wow!
So it's like $7,000, but
yeah, it's B&T, but they make some really cool stuff. And I mean, of course, I've reviewed and shot some of their stuff before, and it's they make some cool stuff. I really like their 5.56 and 300 blackout style guns, but they're also wildly expensive for what they are. But
yeah,
they have some cool stuff. They didn't really release a whole lot new, except that little fold up thing. But
there was a lot new released, but there was also a lot of companies like Beretta. The incremental improvements are actually really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Langdon, if you're a fan of Langdon guns, that PX4, the full size one, they released a thicker barrel profile, so it's the same barrel profile they use on their 40 cal, and then they're now shipping the PX4s. They have the option to ship them with a flat trigger made by Gray Guns, like they have on the P30 series.
Mm-hmm.
I've been eyeing the PX4s on Langdon's site forever and just haven't pulled the trigger.
You keep sending me the link.
I'm
like, when you want me to buy it, what do you want me to do? I don't want it.
Well, I'm hoping you'll buy it and I'll shoot it and I won't like it.
Well, but speaking of incremental improvements, though, I caught a lot of flack. Well, some flack. A lot of people agree with me. But Glock is just plain hodgepodge with slides and frames, and you're not really seeing it. And I know Gaston just passed, but like, I'm a Glock fanboy. You know that. People probably won't believe it, but like,
we have a chat between him and my design guy, my CAD designer, and he's a CZ guy. Michael is a slot guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna start like every time he brings up sends a CZ photo, I'm like, that's a really ugly Glock. It probably doesn't even work as good. But I'm a big Glock fan. But I also have to hate on them because it's like, y'all are gonna get left behind. Like, yes, your firearms work. Functionally they work. But everybody else is pushing. There's so many Gen 3, like, there was a lot of innovation at Glock, but there was equally as much, let's make a Glock Gen 3. Everybody has their flavor of Glock Gen 3 now.
Yeah. I don't think it's eaten away from, besides PSA and Shadow Systems.
Yeah.
I don't think the rest of them are eating away at any of Glock's market.
Because if you want a Glock, you want a Gen 5. Or at least I do.
The Gen 5s are significantly better guns than the Gen 3s.
They're fantastic. And I want MOS. And I want factory MOS. I don't have to send my slide in after I just paid for the gun.
You've played with the Shadow Systems guns.
Yeah.
Their recoil impulse is not nearly as good as a Gen 5.
Correct.
Or at least I'm talking about the full-size MR series.
Yes.
The little CR ones that are based off the 43X and the 48, they shoot about on par with a slimline Glock. But unless you really like the looks of those guns, which they do look awesome, there's no reason not to get a Gen 5 over that.
Right.
The Gen 5s are awesome.
That's what I struggle with. I mean, the PSA Dagger.
Yeah.
It's essentially a Glock clone.
But the price point.
And I mean, there are some differences. The trigger is different, and there's some other stuff going on there. But the price point, that's where they're winning. Shadow Systems is selling a really expensive Glock.
Yeah.
Clone.
I think it's actually a decent value with the sights and
right. I mean, but it is just, like I said, more expensive.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not worth it with the trigger sights, all that jazz. But
if you don't care about that stuff,
but if you don't, then
Gen 5 Glock.
Yeah, and where they're really going to continue to sell, and maybe this is where the Glock, first of all, Glock's killing me with the numbers. The 49 now.
I agree with you. It's ridiculous, but at the same time, look at SIG. Look at Smith & Wesson.
Well, Smith & Wesson, we don't even need to talk about the M&P line.
SIG's getting just as bad. I get so many people that I have all these little things when people order a holster. Does not fit this, does fit this, because SIG, everything is P365 now or P320.
Yeah.
And one letter different. And unless you're really a geek about this stuff and
yeah,
I have customers now just say, hey, go on SIG's site, send me an exact link to the product page of the gun that you own, or send me the exact SKU on the box to verify.
Right.
Because they say, oh, I have a SIG compact. Well, is the X compact that has a 3.6-inch barrel or the regular compact that has a 3.9-inch barrel? And it makes a difference.
It does. And, so, yeah, Glock's not quite that bad. But, I just the whole, let's just switch slides out and change the name. It's just
The 49 should have been the 19L.
Yeah, or I did see one comment. So I commented on Glock's post, and I was just like, "This is the gun nobody was asking for." And then everybody's like, "Everybody's asking for it." I'm like, "Not everybody," because you look at the comments, and I got the most likes of any other comment in the section.
Yeah.
But it's like, obviously, people are looking for a little bit more from you, Glock. Like, you've done this whole we'll switch slides out. You could have done that, and also been making something new. Like, I'm not going to go down the 5.7 rabbit hole, but it would have been cool just to see something, dip your foot into something unique.
Glock's got to get away from the polymer-coated steel line magazines, because that is look at the Shield mags, look at the PSA mags in the Glock 48.
Then they're going to have to change their magazine release from polymer to metal.
They need to basically open themselves up
Yeah.
I still think they need to stick with polymer. They are a polymer pistol manufacturer. Did you ever see that AR they made? Actually,
I saw a photo.
I actually think that would do well in the U.S. market.
I do
know
too.
It'd be like $3,500, but
see, you're gonna have the Glock fanboys.
yeah.
If Glock dropped an AR, I'm just a sucker.
Now, and it's small units for Glock, but they would sell 10 to 15,000 units of that first year right off the bat, and it would be if only making 15,000 units.
Yeah,
it would be a hard gun to find. And you guys can go on the ATF site and look at. I think they've got the 2022 numbers.
They're
up now.
always really behind.
Yeah,
but,
they're like 2 years behind. But you can look at the numbers these rifle manufacturers making. You'll be surprised. Like, what was Daniel Defense? I think maybe 50,000 rifles or something.
I don't even remember.
Either way, the numbers are surprising. You see PSA with a ton of guns, SIG with a ton of guns.
But too, like the way they break them up, you have complete rifles, then you have receivers, and so like you got to make sure when you're looking at those numbers, you're taking that into account. And when they manufacture a AR pistol, it's not going to be in the rifle category.
Correct,
so
yeah.
You do have to look at all that and then combine it, and then and I don't think the SBRs fall under the rifles. They may. Because they're still rifles.
It might be a separate.
It may be. Don't quote us on that.
Yeah, but some of these manufacturers have big presence. You'd be surprised they only make like 2,000 guns a year.
And like these niche ones like Noveski, you'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh man, they're making so many guns. Like, no, they're making less guns than you think, but they're very expensive.
And then you look at a company like Staccato, and you're like, holy crap, they are moving some serious volume and numbers. And same with Kimber.
Mm-hmm.
Kimber's production numbers always surprise me, considering the fact they really only sell at a select number of dealers and then Bass Pro and Cabela's.
Yeah, which I think they're expanding that because they have I think you can get them at like Davidson's and Lipsy's, the wholesalers now, I believe.
They've got a couple of wholesalers, but still not.
Still got a niche.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll also make you be like a stocking dealer, and you got to buy into a program. So
I know years ago it was like $50,000 in inventory.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them are coming off of that because it's very prohibitive for them to get into it. So, but so Daniel released the cool stuff. PSA, man, like that is wild. Like they dropped so many concept guns, it was crazy. But like the one complaint I have, and it's just because it's a selfish complaint, is all that stuff is conceptual or coming soon. And with PSA and any company in manufacturing, both of those mean either never or coming soon could be sometime in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So There's some things I will say. So like the Saber Dagger line, which is, if you're not familiar with PSA, the Saber line is their new kind of like it's their premium line, if you will. They're bringing out Saber Daggers, so those are coming soon. I expect those to actually happen relatively soon.
Hopefully, they'll have a better trigger shoe.
So, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have a totally different trigger. Like I can't remember. I got some pictures.
That's the one thing I don't like about the Dagger out of the box.
Yeah, I don't. I would change the trigger immediately.
And it's not really the feel of the trigger. I just don't like that articulating trigger shoe like the Smith & Wesson.
Yeah,
has.
it would. Yeah, it like breaks and it's weird.
Yeah.
But these have like different Cerakote options. They have a laser stippled grip. Like it's a really big step up. And they had they had the Saber Dagger micro dagger. Those are selling like hotcakes right now because they're like the 43X.
Well, have you seen those? And I don't know if that's a Saber line or not, but they have the port on the front like the macro, the Sig macro.
Yep.
And they were selling those for like $499 with a Hollow Sun 507K or 407K. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're getting the gun for like $350
After you subtract the Hollow Sun on top.
Yeah, that's an incredible value.
Yeah, they already offer that now, but the Saber Dagger line they would change the milling on the slide and stuff, so you'd have some more advanced milling. So those I think are probably imminent before most of these other concept guns that they've released.
So personally, the most exciting gun that's here now for me at SHOT was the H9. Just personally,
yeah,
that was the biggest. But PSA, what they have coming as a brand, they're hitting that right price point. And like, there's a lot of guns that I wouldn't necessarily buy at $4 or $5 grand, which is what, if anybody else made them, these guns would come in at because they'd be low production.
Yeah.
But did you see that gun with the roller lock Jackal, basically? But it's got a more of like an AK style gas block.
Oh, the Volk.
That sounds right. It looks like a video game gun. It looks like something.
Yep. It's like a 7.62 Jackal essentially, but it's like an AK.
No, this one's they're going to offer it in 5.56, I think, but it's going to take AK max. But it's a Jackal.
Yeah, it's still it's the Volk. Yeah.
Either way, that gun looks
so
awesome.
all those guns they did say that they'd work through the calibers. So like you know, 5.56, and then naturally they'd probably do 5.45, and then 300 blackout. And
I don't think there's any reason at this point for them. I think 5.56 is probably.
I think 5.45 is kind of like at the back, but PSA owns AAC, and so once AAC starts making 5.45 ammo, it's all back on the table.
Yeah, but I still think that's probably going to be a while.
It's going to be a while, dude. All this stuff's going to be a while. But that one surprised me. I didn't love the look of it at first, but when I held it, I was like, this is pretty nice, actually.
So that is not a gun that I'd want for like realistic use. It's never a gun that if I had to grab a rifle. Yeah. It's a fun gun. I'm going to put like some freaking bootleg Russian or like Soviet era optic on it. I'm ordering an optic from Uzbekistan or something. Taping stuff on the gun. It's a video game, movie prop looking gun.
There's one gun that I'm very excited about. First of all, I like the Jackal. I have an SBR Jackal with the CR at home stock. They made that, but in 308. So it's essentially a SCAR.
I'll be honest, the 308 version to me looks better.
It does. I don't even know why. Maybe it's because of the size, and we want to see a SCAR.
Yeah.
So it's like when they blew it up for the 308, it was like, ooh.
Well, and it looks great with that Lancer bag.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I think that's another one of those guns that's going to be sooner rather than later. So unless there's something crazy in the R&D world that sets that gun back, I think you'll see that sooner rather than later.
It's probably going to be a sub $1,500 price point, I think.
Yeah. With that stock.
Yeah.
So I expect to see that one.
For those of you guys who aren't familiar with 308 ARs, basically it's really hard to get something solid. Like I understand the Smith & Wesson MP10 is pretty solid, but that's a bare bones rifle. And those are still, 1,100? Somewhere in there. The SIG 716i is a pretty good gun. I've heard good things about it.
I've got one.
But those are still $1,700. So having a solid 308 semi-automatic platform for under $1,500 is rare.
Yeah.
And now there's some of them are $700-800. One of the guns will run great, but your chances of getting that it's a percentage game.
It is. And let's see, just to not go down the 308 rabbit hole, they also have bolt guns that they announced as conceptual, and also a like Build-A-Bear shotgun.
Yeah, and
that one's kind of wild to me. We'll see how that does.
The shotgun was what I was the least excited about, and I'm still kind of on the fence about it. But I did see that Steve Fisher is one of the consultants on that project. For people not familiar with Steve Fisher, he was with Magpul Dynamics back in the day. He owns Sentinel Concepts. He's a very well-known industry trainer, and he kind of specializes more in being a jack-of-all-trades, generalized type guy. Does a lot with shotguns, scout rifles, that sort of thing. So very good person to bring in to consult on a project like that. And seeing PSA bring those type people in, and they've got Tom Victor from FN. He's just the only one I recognize, but they've brought so many people in from FN and these other firearms companies. Like, they are hiring, right?
Yeah, they are hiring a big time. But yeah, so PSA just has a ton of stuff. Like, we could go through the whole. Like, there's stuff I'm not even mentioning, but
yeah,
they had an incredible booth. Oh,
the MP7 at home.
Yes, the MP7 at home. Let's not forget that. That's probably the most important one. Jamin was there. He was walking it around because we were there first thing Monday, and he was kind of walking around showing people, letting them hold it, and it's based on the 5.7 Rock, and he threw out a price that I'm not going to repeat, just simply because I think it's going to end up being more. Like, it was ridiculously low for what that is.
I don't know what he threw out, but I heard multiple videos online. It was around $1,000.
That's what he said, but I don't even know.
So what's a Rock sell for? A little under 500?
Yeah.
I'm not sure when he says it's based off the Rock. Are they just saying it uses the same magazine and magazine release, or is it different slide? What components does it share? But if it's more or less a chassis system,
it's like a chassis system, but I will say it's not. Do
you think they have a standard Rock slide that they then mill so the AR charging handle interacts with it? And
I think that is part. Like, when you look at it, if you look in the ejection port, it does look like a Rock slide in there. But when you look at the actual gun itself, it is like the hand grip and everything is molded to the upper half. So it's not like they just took a Rock and shoved it into a chassis.
No, but if they're using the Rock slide, they're using, obviously, Rock magazines, which is verified, Rock recoil spring assembly, and they just have to create new controls. And that chassis, the design time on that and the cost, I can see how they can make it.
And but what Jamin was saying at the booth was basically they've acquired an injection molding company.
Yep.
And so they're just waiting to get the production and get the mold done and complete and production ready, and then make the
fact that
body.
they're using the Rock as the base. I think their design time on this is not. I bet you we'll see it by the end of the year.
Yes.
I'm still pretty confident in that.
Yeah. I think you definitely will see this gun end of the year, but I think it's going to drop like Q3.
Yeah.
I think Q3 is early.
And I think they're gonna hit that price point.
You know what I really hope is, we have a Tour PSA set up, and I'm really hoping that they're in production on that thing when we do Tour PSA and we get to see it being made. That would be awesome. Not going to say when.
Yeah.
Just we're going to Tour PSA, so that's going to be cool. So
I'm really excited about that.
We're basically we're their hat because we're North Carolina and they're South Carolina, so they're like our little Mexico down there. But we're going to slide on down there and see everything they got going on. But
we're the consumers, they're the producers.
Yeah. But either way, they're really cool folks over at PSA, though. It was really cool to see Jamin, the freaking owner, just walking around with the X57, just showing it to everybody.
So my first AR was a PSA parts build. My dad got me a lower, and then I bought, it was like $4.99 or something back in the day, chrome line barrel. There weren't many options for building ARs around this time period. And I was like 16, 17 years old. And it didn't become my gun until I was 18. But I've talked a lot of crap about PSA in the past because I do think there's certain points where the budget and the quality control they were a company that they're just trying to make stuff better.
I mean,
Constantly trying to improve
their
and learn.
quality control is definitely getting better.
I'd say it's
Uh,
I haven't heard many problems about PSA stuff unless it's mix and match of components.
So, and I mean, there's always that and the big boys have it too.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about it as much.
Well, in PSA, the
But
volume.
the volume they're putting out, and at the price point, everybody's like, "Oh, they're compromising on something." I'm like, not necessarily. I mean, they're vertically integrated, and there's things that you gain from being vertically integrated where you're not having to pay profit on the springs you manufacture, or your bolt doesn't have 20 or 30% margin for the other company.
They make everything but the springs, I think, right?
They might even make the springs now. I don't know. They acquire everything.
They will eventually.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in that. But they make almost every component of that rifle, and making every component of that rifle, and also they sell direct.
Yeah.
They're not selling. So you're not taking. Most guns have a distributor and a dealer markup. They are selling to you direct, so they are probably making more than your average manufacturer, but they're able to charge you less because that's their business model. And there's some bad things about that, because it'd be great if their guns were available at dealers and that sort of thing, but that gives them a lot of money to put back into investing into the product itself.
Yeah.
Because they have the vertical integration along with cutting out the dealer and distributor.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about PSA, but
Yeah.
the other thing is, I think this is going to be the year of the lever action rifle.
So Stag and Smith & Wesson, who else?
Stag and Arrow. Arrow is the parent company of Stag.
Yeah.
So they both are dropping a version of lever action rifle. Smith & Wesson dropped one, and Henry dropped a magazine-fed lever action rifle.
Yeah, that's kind of expected.
And, of course, Marlin, who's now owned by Ruger, dropped like an 1894 night version or something like that. Don't quote me on the name. There were so many. It's been a long 3 days. I just got back yesterday, so it's like I'm still recovering. But they dropped a nice one. But the thing with Marlin is, like, I don't ever see him. Like, I hardly ever see him in stock. And they started to come back in a little bit towards December, but it's hard to find Ruger Marlins.
The best way to keep tabs on those is through Gunbroker, because what you'll see is MSRP is like $1,400. You'll see them come in stock, and they're like $1,200, $1,100 something on Gunbroker, and then all of a sudden they're $1,800, getting close to $2,000, just based off how much inventory.
Availability.
Yeah,
but I think, of course, Arrows and Stags are not available yet. I think everybody again was touting that Q2, which means somewhere in 2024. It really means the second 3 months in 2024. But in layman's terms, it's like you can expect it sometime this year, if you're lucky. But the Stag, honestly, so Arrow took the tactical side.
yeah.
It has a monolithic hand grip and top rail. Yeah. But the rail is all one piece, so you can, of course, mount whatever you want to the top. Your optic can be mounted.
I think that's a good fit for the company.
It is. And it was surprising. Well, they had a lot of 45-70, but I think they're also going to have the cowboy calibers.
Okay.
The cowboy pistol rounds. So,
44, 38.
Yeah, 44,
357.
357, But I personally like the Stags the best. They had the wood stock, and they also had one other that was like the stainless and wood, I believe. But they also had like I don't know if it's blued. I doubt it. It's probably Cerakote or something, but I'm not 100% sure.
I got to be honest, man. I was impressed with the Smith & Wesson, not from – if I wanted to buy a stock lever gun, that gun had a good set of sights on it, and the rail, the stainless steel version at least, with the polymer buttstock, it just looked like a very rugged, practical.
Yep.
If you're going to throw something on your side-by-side, if it's going to be the gun you carry with you into the field, truck gun, airplane gun, that sort of thing, I'd say it's kind of like the Glock 20. Like, I've got a buddy, got a plane, flies up in Alaska, and I went up there and flew around with him this summer. All the pilots up there have Glock 20s or Glock 29s. because they're somewhat disposable. If they drop them in a pond, they lost a $500 Glock. They're not losing their $3,500 Wilson Combat 1911 or a irreplaceable $1,500 revolver or something.
Yeah,
So-
they're on like float planes. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I really think this is like the year of the lever gun. If all these lever guns come out, that's the only thing that like PSA didn't announce was a lever gun. They went to bolt shotguns, like they went all over the place. But
And no word on the PSA on like the M14 clones or M1 Grands.
nothing on the that would be from the H&R side.
Yeah.
So there's nothing on that. Nothing new on the STG 44. The crank. We didn't talk about the crank, but the crank is. I think the crank is imminent. The 5.56 crank is like imminent.
They've got it up on the site.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but they don't have the ST. If they put
Yeah, they don't have
something-
the, they don't have this.
If they put it up on the site, maybe not everything in that line will be shipping soon, but something in that line will be shipping soon.
Yeah, the crank's going to probably ship soon. Of course, it's going to be the 5.56 crank, but
Yeah.
it'll be shipping very soon, I believe.
I am a 545 fanboy. 545 does not make sense right
it's
now in
so
the U.S.
expensive.
market.
It's stupid expensive because everything you got going on in Ukraine, pretty much. And
Well, that not just that, but we import a lot of ammo from Russia. All the permits ended in November of this year.
yep. So
So-
until we get a U.S. manufacturer of 5.45,
And there's some 545 coming in from some of the other former Soviet states, but it's coming in a trickle, and we haven't built up those relationships and that import process
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying 75 cents.
remember I showed you where it was almost $1 a round for 5.45?
You can buy the Hornady like match grade 545 for the same price you can buy steel case right now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's how you know it's too expensive.
Brass case 762 by 39 is basically the same price as steel cased right now.
Yeah. Like who buys brass 760?
I mean, I would now, but
Oh, yeah.
I never bought it before.
Yeah.
Because before it didn't make sense. You could buy the other stuff for half the price.
Yeah. And like AKs just eat it anyway, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But yeah, the ammo situation is kind of weird too. But I mean, I don't think like our standard stuff, our 5.56 or 9mm has all come back. It's good. It's shored
Yeah.
up.
It's expensive. but
It's more expensive than it was, but I think it's settled in to where it's going to be. Like that's just the price you need to know that's what you're going to pay
so
now.
you saw, I think it was Winchester announced the price increases. They said that powder costs something going 20%. So expect, I think, like 10% price increases across the board at distribution level or something. And all these ammo online retailers have been pushing that. I have not seen that old inventory moving. Like I think people are kind of bought out. So
Which I saw massive buying of ammo right around Black Friday. I think they had a lot of deals. And so I think everybody stocked up on ammo and, kind of hate to say hoard it because, I mean, we have, you want to have a good amount to where you can go shoot and it doesn't totally deplete you. I mean, I remember the days taking a couple boxes out there and you shot every bit of ammo you had and you went home dry. And I'm like, that's terrible. Don't do that.
you know me, I do not let yourself get below 3 years worth of ammo. If you shoot 50 rounds a year, have 150 rounds of ammo.
Yeah.
If you shoot 15,000 rounds a year, have 45,000 rounds of ammo.
I don't know who's shooting that, but
There's
I want to be friends. I want to be friends with them.
a lot of competitors do
Yeah,
shoot that.
and hang out with them on the
Yeah.
side. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to think of other stuff we saw. Let's go. Holosun's killing it. Like, man, I wish. It's gonna sound, but as a U.S. manufacturer of sewn goods, I wish there was an optics company doing what they were doing in the U.S. I know it'd be more expensive. I know it'd be crazy expensive, but I don't care. Like, I wish we had a.
Here's where Holosun is killing it. A lot of foreign companies are just disconnecting the culture. Glock being a key example of that. Holosun is a Chinese-owned, I believe, manufacturer. They have hired some awesome consultants. They have done a really good job of hiring the right people.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously very in tune with what the U.S. market wants because, I mean, they're going after thermal. They're going after, I don't even know what you want to call it, the digital pistol stuff. I don't know if the night vision stuff. I don't know if the digital pistol stuff will catch on, but they have a huge windowed optic, a rifled windowed optic. and man, it is incredible. Like
Weighs like 8 ounces or something.
man,
Is what I heard too.
yeah, it's not heavy, but it's the window is massive, so like it doesn't mess up your sight picture, and they're doing some pretty awesome stuff, and like I just wish it was like a US. It was like EOTech.
They released the aiming module. What do they call it? The Iris.
Yep.
That looks solid. I've seen some stuff, some conflicting, but they're always slow on their night vision releases.
Yeah, but
Anything to do with IR or night vision, they're slow.
Well, understandably, I mean, if you're new to it, it is what it is. You know,
They've been doing it for years now, but
well, yeah, but new products, you want to try to trickle them out just in case there is an issue. There's not as many out there that you got to bring back and fix and whatever. But I mean, I just think they're focused on the right things, which is half the battle. You know, focus on what's going to sell. And I did see quite a few. I don't know if there was more, but maybe I just noticed them more. There was more night vision and thermal companies this year than there ever has been. And I think night vision is still wildly expensive and thermal is still wildly expensive, but it's more affordable than it's ever been.
my understanding on night vision is we're not going to see significant price drops at this point due to limitations and improving the technology much more. And I think whoever can get night vision to where you're not paying, you know, entry fee to night vision is what, $3,000 for a single
minimum
tube. Yeah. I mean,
Typically.
that's if like a higher end Gen 2.
Yeah. And thermal's a little bit better. I mean, you can get thermal rifle scopes for a few $100, but the quality of picture and stuff it's better than what it was, but it's just not.
I think you can get a functional one for like East Coast. If we were going to hunt pigs in this area, I think for $1,500, you can get something that's solid.
Yeah. And like half the time, the price increases is the feature set. Like when we buy Armasight, they had some really cool stuff. Some of the stuff they were releasing, like it had shot recognition, which I think a lot of them do. But just the rundown we got on this one was, you know, it works like a police body camera, so it's always recording. But when it hears, you know, when it senses a trigger fire, it rolls it back 10, 15, 30 seconds or whatever, and captures all that video going forward of the firing of the gun, and so everything it sees. So that's cool. So it's not constantly, you know, you don't stand a chance of accidentally leaving recording and recording over your mess. You just boom, and it captures the shooting part, and you're good to go. The clip-on IR stuff is pretty incredible too. Again, the only one we really dove into was Armasight. I'm sure the rest of them are equally as good. So I'm not like outing or, you know, saying any company.
There's so many
company, one
at
company.
SHOT Show, and it's hard to.
You can't, dude. It's like it's massive. It's acres and acres and acres. But yeah, the clip-on was cool because you didn't have to have the sight perfectly lined up. Just the the reticle had to be in and it was just like having your own thermal scope. So if you already got a high quality scope, you just get one of the clip-ons for the thermal, and you've got thermal, and you can have it on or off.
I've never played with that stuff, but that makes so much more sense to me, having something that I can just throw it on the front, use multiple rifles with it, not have to set something up specifically for, going and getting a nice gun and then setting up specifically for IR use or thermal use is somewhat pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah, and it's cost prohibitive. Like the clip-ons, they were still like probably $1,500, but it's like now, what if you've got a Swarovski scope or a Night Force scope on your gun? You don't want to go buy a whole nother thermal scope to replace your already very high end scope. So you just grab you a thermal clip on.
I'd love to have thermal on my Honey Badger SD. Do I really need to go buy another Honey Badger SD? Wait for 2 NFA stamps just to throw thermal on it.
Yeah, or constantly taking the thermal off, or taking, the more practical thing would be to take the one off, put the other on.
But then you have to re-sight it in.
Yeah, and then you got to sight it in. That's a whole nother, bag of worms there. But
if you end up using it, you end up just buying another gun for.
Well, yeah, if you're constantly, using both, but.
And not everybody has a range in their backyard.
Yeah, that's nice. But even so, I wouldn't want to be changing my optics in and out because then I'm sometimes I don't know what's zeroed.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a handful of guns that are zeroed, but like the hunting rifles, I'm like, I don't know if they're zeroed or not.
He's got a bunch of guns he uses for content.
Yeah, and you
he's
swap stuff
constantly
in and out. And
Yeah, so he might shoot a group with the gun, see what the group is, but he doesn't care if it's 3 inches off. He's not going to just
right, if it hits steel, that's usually adequate for me for the purposes of what I'm trying to accomplish at that time. Now, of course, every couple of months I'll go and I'll dial if the optic has sat on that gun for 3 months, I'll go dial it in.
Yeah,
on paper. So
if you remember,
true, because I'll be like, it's hitting steel. No, but there's only a handful of guns that I actually carry consistently and that are my go-to, and I know those are fine. But
yeah,
and I know they're sighted in, and I make sure recheck that every couple of months. But they have high-end stuff on them.
So did you see that Tommy Built is releasing an actual MP7?
I did. I didn't see it in person. I saw the pictures. I never made it by whatever booth I was at.
It's 35. I think it was at the B&T booth, actually.
Okay, I did make it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they had that out publicly on
Yeah, I
display.
don't know. I just saw the pictures of it.
That is supposed to come in at $3,500 or $3,600.
That sounds about right.
And you got to buy, I think you still got to buy the stock SBR. It go through.
Yeah.
So you're looking a little under $4,500 probably all in.
Yep.
It's
man, it's tempting. But if that X57 comes in at $1,000,
4.6.
is the Tommy going to be 4.6? See, that other problem with 4.6 is finding the ammo.
It's not that hard to find. It will be a lot hard to find when all those guns get released.
Well, that's true.
But I don't know if that's a gun I'd shoot that much. So I just think it might be one that I might want to go for it, man.
I get it, but at the same time, if it was like a actual HK, then it would be like, okay, I might not shoot that all the time. But a Tommy Built, yeah, I'd have to shoot it a lot because it's got to be fun. And I wonder too. I do wonder, would the MP7 be as popular or as in demand as it is if it was just available by HK? Like I almost wonder if it would not just be another gun at that point, or if it's because it's kind of grailish.
The Grail effect is definitely there, and I think what's going to make the PSA popular is price point.
Yeah,
combined with video game. I've had two people in the last 2 days. One guy on the phone, and another guy just texted me this morning on the way here, and he goes, "I'm getting that PSA for my wife's nightstand gun." Because think about it, throw a suppressor on it. His wife's recoil sensitive. She doesn't. I've always said the P90 would make a great home defense gun.
Okay, so home defense, I understand, but like it's too big to be a carry gun.
I said nightstand gun.
Oh, nightstand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gotcha. My fault. I was like, I thought you said carry gun. I was like, that's a lot to carry.
No, nightstand
What kind
gun.
of bag does she have? But yeah.
There are women that could probably carry like a Mark 18.
For sure. Put in a Louis Vuitton. It's like, it's a suitcase, man. That's not a purse. But anyway, yeah, okay. Nightstand. Gotcha.
I think it
makes more sense.
Is it ballistically effective, the most practical, whatever? No, but you have centerfire reliability.
Yep.
Put a suppressor on it, they're reasonably quiet.
Yeah. 5.7 does suppress very well.
I think it's a great choice for people that are. I've got a 72-year-old aunt. She lives by herself. My uncle's deceased. She's got his old Smith & Wesson MP40 that my cousin has loaded and put in a safe, and that is not a good gun for her to grab. And she's like 4'11". She wears that 5.7 though, is good length to pull.
Mm-hmm. Recoil's not bad. That 5.7. See what 5.7 brings to the table, and I know the whole Grand Thumb ballistics thing, but 5.7's recoil is insanely soft. There's not a lot of muzzle flip, whereas 9mm there's a good bit of muzzle rise. Recoil is not super soft. I mean, it's manageable. I mean, I'm not sitting here complaining about 9mm recoil. I'm comparing it to 5.7.
Yeah.
And again, centerfire reliability. It's a hot round. I mean, it's quick and it will defeat soft armor.
So if you look at 5.7, I think you got to look at 5.7 the same way. I look at 32 Smith & Wesson long or 22 Magnum out of a airweight revolver. It is not the best option. It is not like super ballistically effective, but it does meet the bare minimum.
Yes.
And a lot of times the trade-offs in shootability are going to be worth meeting that bare minimum.
Right.
So Lipsy's dropped their, did you see the Lipsy's drop?
Yeah, that was when you were like, you sent it to me right away. I was like, here we go.
I was excited. I was texting my gun shop like, can you get me a hold of a couple of these? So they dropped the Smith & Wesson. It's a 432 and a 632. So the same as the 642, 440, or 642, 442. Sorry, the numbers all
I was
get.
going to say, this number, you're just throwing numbers out, and I was just going over my head.
It's a 6-shot air weight in 32 H&R Magnum. So it'll fire 32 long, 32 short. The 32 longs out of it will probably have next to zero recoil.
Is the 32 H&R Magnum named after H&R? Okay.
It is that round. It's a little bit. It's between 32 long and 327 Magnum.
I just
a little
said, is
more
it named
towards.
after H&R?
Yeah.
Harrington and Richardson.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and
PSA
spell
owns.
it. Yeah. Let me spell it out.
Yeah.
So it didn't sound stupid, but it did.
Yeah.
But yes, okay. That I was just trying to put two and two together. So it was actually created by Harrington and Richardson back in the day.
Yes.
Okay.
And like if you look at it from a self-defense perspective, I hope somebody comes out with like a downloaded 32 H&R, because the 32 Smith & Wesson long is really on that fine line as far as wad cutters, but the 32 H&R is just a little bit too hot to be shootable for everyone, whereas if they had a downloaded 32 H&R, just maybe 10 to 15% more power than the long, still be controllable enough, but you get a little more penetration. But that gun right there, I'm kind of pissed off that I bought that 22 mag because and it comes with the sights out of the box are incredible. It comes with a good set of grips, but you can switch those out easy.
Yeah.
But the sights out of the box, the XS sights, they're going to have a really good sight picture. Man, I love what they've done with that revolver. Like that's probably, you know me, revolver geek.
Yeah, it's the revolver in you.
I might be more excited about that than the Hudson, honestly.
Which is understandable. The Hudson's really cool, but it's a reboot of what's already been, but it is more reliable and it's better.
And I will say one thing I was impressed with Daniel Defense is they were smart enough. Their original Hudson had like an 1/8 of an inch difference between the bottom of the dust cover or the rail and the trigger guard. So when you make a holster for that, it's effectively the same as a light-bearing holster. So it makes it much wider than a regular holster, less comfortable to carry in most cases. This gun, they put enough room between that trigger guard that you can get your spacers for adjustable retention or your eyelets to hold the holster together, and it's not going to add a lot of extra width.
Yeah.
So I thought they made some pretty good improvements to that gun.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of it actually functioning, being reliable and not dying on you is a pretty good improvement by itself. But
Some of the original Hudsons ran great.
yeah, but it was, and the big thing was aftermarket support. Like, we might not feel that way if Glock went under. We might not feel Glocks are that reliable anymore because it's like, all right, what if nobody picks up, and in Hudson's case, they didn't. Nobody picks up part support.
So this is something I'm going to say. If you're starting a new gun company, as much as I don't want to see just more people making Glock clones and AR clones or 1911s, look at the companies that are making innovation right now in our industry. It's PSA and Daniel Defense. Both of those started out making AR-15s, and they were able to build their company and get that established base. So now people do not have a concern that you're not going to be able to get parts for your rock,
Right.
even though it's a completely proprietary gun. People have very low concerns you're going to be able to get parts for your Daniel Defense H9.
Well, and
Because it's
two,
an established company.
like even people that have problems with their PSA stuff, PSA's customer support is highly touted.
Yeah.
Like I've seen very, very few people say they've had a negative customer support interaction with Palmetto State Armory. Even the people that are into the high tier stuff still say, well, worst case scenario, they have really good support.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're like the Amazon support of the gun industry.
The point I'm making there though is these companies were able to start with a gun that people knew. If you buy an AR from some random you're going to be able to get parts from somewhere else
From
because they're
anywhere,
compatible. Whereas when you go out with something completely proprietary from the gate, if that company does not succeed, your customers are not going to be getting support.
Yeah.
And that's in the back of everybody's mind.
Yep. A lot of times, like, you'll see people kind of complaining and on Reddit online forums that they love to go to SHOT, and they don't like the fact that it's industry only. But
NRA show is a way better show for that. Or I haven't been personally, but I've heard the Great American Outdoor Show.
yeah, but to counter those people, I'd like to say that I get why you want to go. I get that this is kind of like the Super Bowl of the firearms industry, but like, what you don't understand is
It's really not, though. It's really more like the combine. It's like,
yeah, it's kind of like the draft.
yeah,
Because like a lot of times stuff's not like immediately available. But here's the thing: is this is where, yeah, it is basically like the draft. Because if you think about it, this is where your gun or your gun store is going to get the guns, these new guns, to sell you. So this is where the gun stores and the dealers can interact without the general public. And not that we don't love the general public. It's just like, hey, we've got to be able to go in here, learn the information to be able to sell these products to the general public. Because you can't go to Smith & Wesson and buy these guns. You can't go, Palmetto State Armory, you can go straight to them and buy them. But, like, you can't just, you can go to Daniel Defense and buy them. But there's certain things with these big
go to
companies.
his website and check out the articles, and he'll get you a direct link to exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. But, you can't, generally speaking, just like even if you're not going to get it shipped directly to you, it's got to go to the store.
And most of these dealers are also not shipping directly from the manufacturer. Some manufacturers, a lot of it's done through distribution.
Right.
And there's also distributor shows that aren't as widely talked about in the industry, which PSA goes to those too, even. The distributor shows, and there's no point for somebody who's not in the industry to be going to these shows. And SHOT Show, you have to have a very specific agenda. And I will tell you this, like, I'm trying to go to these, when I've been in the past, I'm trying to make connections with marketing people to do some collaborations. I've had better luck at NRA show working on those, or just running into people at random events. Like, if you can find a firearms school that is attached to a company, and you can maybe find out, hey, somebody from that company is going to be at that event, that is a much better place to go, and your chances are much higher than just walking into SHOT trying to make a random connection.
Right. And see, that's where, like, this year, I was packed full of meetings. So, like, I only had certain blocks of time to even walk around and explore. I didn't even go to the Glock booth. I walked through the FN booth, but didn't stop. Like, the big boy, like, there was so much. And granted, SHOT runs really Tuesday to Friday. Monday is like supplier showcase, and they also have an industry shooting range.
Supplier showcase is usually very fruitful for both of us.
Because, we're manufacturers, and there's a lot of manufacturers there, and that's where I go see my Cadora guys and all of our raw material people.
And there's a lot of people doing a certain niche manufacturing process that we might be able to work into our production.
And we do learn a lot.
Yeah.
There's different, there's a lot of people there with different foams and different, that kind of stuff.
If you want to make a Glock clone or start manufacturing AR-15s, when I say manufacture, I'm using that term basically assembling these items, you can walk into supplier showcase and have 3 suppliers for every item you need.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Easily.
And again, Brad's not here, but it was his first time. And when we went to supplier showcase, I was like, what'd you think? He was like, it's very eye-opening. Because, that's where you go if you want to start an AR-15 assembly company.
Yep.
I'm not going to call you manufacturer because there's very few people actually forging and doing this. If you want to start an assembly company, that's where you go to get your parts.
And you can get it done in 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You can have everything.
Well, I will say, though, if you're ready to buy, you might sit down with more people in the middle and, because they have breakout areas to where you can do deals.
But you can get your contacts and you get everything to follow up.
Unless you're ready to go right then, you just get your contacts and you go back and then you put it together. A lot of times with like us, we have to do digital work, digital CAD stuff, and so it's not going to be ready to go right then.
Yeah.
But we need the contacts to get the email chain started. Just like we kind of came up with a product while we were there, but part of it involved
you were able to
material
get a CAD file quickly. And
we needed a material called Curve, and but it has to be molded, pressed. So it was It was very, but it's good to make those connections, and you have those direct connections, and then you start the email chains and get it going. That's how you get your products made.
Yeah.
But Supplier Showcase is great, especially if you're trying to start a company and get something off the ground. That's where I initially started going to SHOT. I don't remember if they had it the first
That's how
year.
you talked me into going,
Yeah.
actually. I think the first year I went was the first year they had it.
Okay.
Pretty sure on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, that was so long ago. I don't even remember. But it probably was. Or it maybe even been the second year, because I don't know if I could have talked you into it without some kind of experience. But either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's why we went. But then, we had to, you're not just going to go all the way to Vegas for one day. So, we kind of plan out, try to market with other people. And I had tons of meetings set up. And so it was a wild event. It was very busy. But it was good. Got a lot done this year. But like I said, I think...
But you got more done this year than you probably have in the last, let's just say, 9 years.
Probably combined. I mean, it was just...
And the difference was you had meetings set
Yeah.
up. SHOT is not a place you go to make contacts. SHOT is a place you go to submit contacts you already have.
Yes.
And that's... I talk with a lot of people, and they're like, oh, I want to go to SHOT. I want to... If you do not know why you are going to SHOT... So
Then you're just
last year-
wandering around aimlessly.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of... I'm not trying to be rude,
Yeah.
but that's you just get in the way of people trying to get to where they got to get.
So last year I was trying to get some support from Kimber to make the Kimber K6S holsters for the Icon 2.0. I went to Kimber's booth. They had like 4 people there. They were all there to sign dealers. They did not have a single marketing person, a single engineer in their booth. And their booth is massive, like a 50 by 50
Huge booth.
space. And they just had a couple of tables and 4 people there. They had no breakout rooms. They are there for one purpose only, that's to sign dealers. Now you go to the NRAM show, we were able to talk to the product engineers, talk to marketing. NRAM has, if you are trying to make marketing connections, NRAM is a better show to go to unless you already have those connections and know they will be at SHOT.
And so if you're not familiar with NRAM, it's the National Rifle Association annual meeting. They move it around. This year, I think it's going to be in Houston?
Dallas.
Yeah, it's in Texas.
And you'll be exhibiting there this year.
Yep. Pray for us. And then if you're going, come see us. Be nice, though, because we're probably going to be stressed. But yeah, so, because it was the big, I mean, we've done the little gun shows way, way, way back, and we've done Suppress Fest. And those are pretty cool, laid back. But yeah, this is going to be more because we're shipping stuff there. Woo. All right, just like I said, pray for us. But if you're not familiar, the National Rifle Association annual meeting is open to the general public. The way I phrase it is it's the largest, probably one of the largest. What's the other one?
Great
American
Outdoor
Show.
Show. And
Say
what you will about the NRA. Wayne LaPierre's finally stepped down. We'll see.
We'll see if they fix anything internally, but they're still
not like Congress.
Yeah, it's like
not a lot of hope.
There's a little bit of hope, not for Congress, but for the NRA. I got a little bit of hope because I really hope, we get somebody in there who's not just worried about padding their pockets and is actually worried about what their mission is.
Improving our rights, not creating false flags to
correct and not
raise money.
Yeah, so not just constant. I mean, I know they have to raise money, but when you get it, stop buying $600 suits. Anyway,
hey, as somebody who owns some $600 suits, they are worth it if you wear suits every day.
Yeah, but you didn't fleece people on the premise of improving the Second Amendment. Anyway, NRAM is open to the public, and it's probably just one of the biggest gun shows on the planet. Like, your Kimber's not going to be at your Dixie Gun and Knife show here in Raleigh. So, like, all the big manufacturers are going to be at
And you
NRAM.
can see Jerry Mikulik. We rode the elevator down with Hannah and Jeff Barron.
Oh,
I got to see Coleon Noir. You'll run I ran into Coleon Noir on the street, and I was like, just, hey man, love your stuff, and he actually came up and shook my hand. Didn't expect that, at all. Like,
in fact, the last
super nice.
NRAM, I stayed in the same hotel as the Daniel Defense guys.
Yeah,
and actually got to know them, and now I see him at SHOT and go up and say, talk to Johnny, and he's one of their marketing guys. They're all cool cats. In fact, one guy, I'm terrible with names. I got to get better. I was walking around Venetian, man, and just got this thing of ice cream. Yeah, I was being a fatty. So I was like eating this ice cream walking through the Venetian, and he turns. He's like, "Is it good?" I'm like, "Yeah, you want some?" I didn't recognize him, and he was like, "Hey, it's I don't remember his name. I'll butcher it even if I try." He was like, "Yeah, it's such and such from Daniel Defense." He was like, "We were at NRAM together, and we played that like shuffleboard thing at the bar." And I was like, "Hey!" I did remember. I was like, I recognize his face, and I was like sitting there trying to process it, and I'm like, I'm never gonna figure this out. But anyway, because I was eating ice cream, he said something to me. So anyway.
So I will say this on connections. I think this is something very important. The first year I went to SHOT Show with you, we stayed at Planet Hollywood.
Yes.
Had to walk.
Nothing wrong with Planet Hollywood.
No, if you want to go to Vegas, go to Planet Hollywood, have fun,
time.
whatever.
I killed it at the poker table. Last time I've actually sat down and played poker, I was hella nervous because I just don't like they yelled at me one time because I violated some rules. I don't know. I don't gamble really like that. But yeah. But it was like beginner's luck, and I walked away. I think I paid for the room sitting at that poker table.
Yeah.
It was wild. Like I made like $1,000. Again, beginner's luck. Won't do it again because then I'll lose $1,000. I'll just like walk out while you're on top.
That was a big mistake though. Like
It was.
We've stayed at the Venetian.
Not the poker table. Staying at Planet Hollywood.
We've stayed at the Venetian though, or stay at the Venetian or the Palazzo if you're going to SHOT.
Yes.
Any trade show you go to, stay at the hotel that's hosting the event or the closest hotel.
Yeah, at all possible because the amount of time you save walking back and forth.
And if you've got 2 hours between meetings or something, you can go up to your room and just take a 45-minute chill break.
Yeah, because
Better than sitting in a bar or a restaurant.
it's harder to get off your feet than you think. And like my whole lower body was screaming both days because we literally stood from 8:30 that morning until 5 o'clock that evening.
Brad sent me that screenshot with 24,000 steps or whatever.
And that might even been low.
Yeah.
I mean, that because I think one day he forgot his watch and I guess his phone was tracking.
I'm very active. I walk a lot. I'm always running around multiple places. I walk 12,000 feet in an average day, and I guarantee that's a lot more than the average person. So 24 is insane.
Yeah. It was crazy. So, yeah, lower body hurt. My feet hurt. I mean, I wore decent shoes for walking. Like, I didn't wear dress shoes or anything absolutely crazy, but there's just not a lot of places to sit and rest. But like you said, you can go up there and you can crash for a little bit.
And even if you do find a place to sit down, there's tons of people around you. You can't just chill out like if you have your own room.
One thing I did this year was I created kind of like on our site, we have a best products of, SHOT Show 2024, just to kind of take our pictures and highlight the kind of stuff we thought was cool. And I still have to go back and add a few more things because it's not done. So I'm constantly updating it through today. And so that being in that room allowed me not to have to, like, there's a media room. Like there's on like the third floor, they have a media place, but being able to go to the room where there's not a lot of people around and you can just kind of, knock out what you need to knock out is so much better than any other particular option. So
it really is. And you're more likely to meet people if you are in the building. I went and met with a manufacturer last year. I didn't have a business card. I was able to come up and follow up with them 5 minutes later with a business card because I was more like 15. But
I was going to say, it was probably a little longer.
Because I was able to rush up to my room, get the business cards, and get back down. And when they took me much more seriously just knowing I was staying at the Venetian because and these guys are getting hit up all day long for stuff.
And the Venetian is obviously more expensive because of that convenience factor. Also, the Venetian is very nice. It's one of the nicest to eat. Like, our Uber driver on the way in was like, "Oh man, you're staying at the Venetian." This is a Vegas native. He was like, "Oh, the Venetian, you picked a nice hotel." I'm like, "Well, it's attached to the convention center, so it's like it's a natural,
If the hotel is crap, but it's connected to the show floor, that's probably where I'm staying.
Yeah,
like I am staying wherever is closest to the show.
Yeah, because if you're gonna spend all that money to get out there anyway, spend a little bit of extra, get your time back, and allow yourself to spend more time on the floor. That way you can maximize your connections and meeting with people.
And I'm not going to go too much into detail on this, but when you flew out there, you flew first class. And there's some cases where I'll fly first class for business stuff because, like, I had to go out to Thunder Ranch and I had a very tight schedule on that. And it was just much easier flying first class when you're flying all the way across the country,
Well,
multiple flights.
I will say, slightly claustrophobic, and it's more
I
about
am.
that
And I'm
than
bigger than
anything.
you, so.
So it was more or less like, hey, I just want to, have the space, and then too, you have priority boarding and exit, and again, that's more about maximizing the time that I have out there because I
Yeah.
flew in Monday. And Supplier Showcase started that morning. So I got there while Supplier Showcase was starting, but I had enough time to get there, get to the hotel, get in our room, drop our stuff off, and then get to Supplier Showcase and still get everything I needed to get done that day.
See, I'm not as bad with that, though, on the way out there as I am on the way back. That's where I find that flying first class generally saves me a day of recovery coming back. But either way, you had a great conversation with an individual that you got way more than value than what your ticket cost due to that.
There was another industry person that we'll leave nameless. There's no, I'm not name dropping or whatever, but they there's another industry person that we had good conversation. It was very, very fruitful. Learned a lot, and that's kind of that's probably, like you said, it's worth the value in the ticket. Now it's not guaranteed every time.
It's
but
probably 1 out of 5 times. But
if you're lucky.
I have noticed when I've flown first class, I do generally have conversations. And it may not be industry specific, but if you are going to SHOT Show, hey, there's a decent amount of people are going to be flying out of this airport. It's going to put you involved with the players. And don't expect to be like, hey, I'm going to do a business deal with this guy.
No.
Just expect to learn. You get way more from the knowledge.
Yeah, I honestly, it was just cool to ask somebody in his position questions and try to learn without being aggravating. I didn't want to bother him the whole flight or anything, but I'm always trying to learn and glean anything I can from people that are very successful. So.
And a lot of times those people are more than willing to share that. But if you try to sell them on something or whatever, they completely shut down.
Of course, they asked what we did, and I told them, and we're from the same state, same area. We're probably 30 minutes, separating us. So, it was just it was really cool. Really enjoyed the experience. Very, very nice guy. Because he could have just put his headphones in and not said anything to me after he realized but it wasn't like that at all. He's very, very good dude. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that honestly, it makes me want to fly first class everywhere I go, but it's not practical. Like I said, I do it on the long hauls because that was a direct flight, nonstop. It was 3.5, maybe almost 4 hours, something like that, to Vegas.
4.5, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's a long time to be like this. So I just, it was expensive, but it's kind of one of those things that I don't travel a whole lot, and so.
Honestly, if you could have told me that I could have had the conversation you had, like the amount of money I'd pay for that to be in that, you can't pay for that because I guarantee if this individual, if you'd have called him up and said, hey, will you spend this amount of time with me for $5,000? He'd go, no.
Yeah. He probably didn't have time for that.
Yeah.
And understandably so. But it, again, was very, very nice guy. And he, anything I did ask, he was more than happy to answer. But I wasn't prying or anything, but I was just honestly trying to glean some business knowledge, and it wasn't even industry related. It was just business as a whole. Like, hey, this dude's obviously doing a great job and just cool to learn.
That is where spending a little bit extra money, though, on those sort of things. Again, if you can afford it, like if you're having to put this on a credit card. And,
no, don't do that.
Yeah, but if you can pay cash for it.
Yeah.
And if, I know SHOT's coming every year. Yeah. So, of course, I put it aside and then,
so you can plan for it.
Was it like the Best Western, believe it or not, in Vegas is really close to Venetian. So if you're trying to save more money on a hotel, I'd stay at the Best Western.
Get as close as you can.
Yes.
If you can't do the Venetian and get it, it's silly expensive. But I
know the past SIG reps stay at the Mirage.
Get as close as you can so you don't spend all your time. I stayed at, and if you're not familiar with the Vegas Strip, look up the Venetian and look up where New York is. That's where I stayed the first 2 or 3 years. They have shuttles, but again, time, the amount of time it takes to wait on the shuttle, it shuttles you there. You got all this other stuff to do. I would walk every day because it was 30 minutes. It took, from New York, it might have been 40 minutes.
So the time you get for a shuttle wait, you might as well just walk.
Yeah. So but granted, you're already 30 minutes of straight walking in, and you're already tired. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're gonna walk. It's Vegas.
yeah. So it's a 30-minute walk. So it's just and it's Vegas, so it's like that's a long walk, and it's not like you can just walk straight up Las Vegas Boulevard. Like you have to cross over up and down. Yeah, I have made. We walked to the Daniel Defense Party, and it was at the Hard Rock Cafe, and that's literally
That's a good walk.
That's
That's-
across from New York.
Yeah.
It's like right before you get to MGM, and
So Brad said you walked the entire strip. That's only half the strip.
it's pretty close. I mean, I think the strip technically like ends at Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, which is a pretty good way.
Yeah, but like the airport's across the street from Mandalay, so it's like I don't know. I made him walk most of the strip, so he got the experience of the strip at night,
Yeah.
and it was. I think that really opened his eyes to Las Vegas. But yeah, so it was good, but like I said, proximity saves you a lot of time, and again, just kind of weigh the time versus money value. That's a lot of people don't do that, and I think kind of shoots them in the foot, especially if you're using SHOT as a business. If you somehow score tickets and it's just for fun and you're just perusing, stay as cheaply as you can. If you are there for business, as SHOT is intended for,
You want to be on your A game when you're going to meet
yes.
people. You do not want to be looking like a zombie. And it's Vegas, so it's easy to
it's easy to get
it's easy
carried
to
away.
go hit up the bar and spend $600 by
You
4 o'clock.
You don't have to
afternoon.
find a bar. They sell alcohol at every
Yeah.
that you can buy it anywhere. Granted, half the booths this year had beer taps at one time or another. I will say we went by U.S. Optics and Zero Delta at one. They had beer there one day, so that was cool. One interjection back to new products. Zero Delta or U.S. Optics now is getting ready to drop or has already dropped a domestic line of scopes.
So they used to have one, and
Yeah.
then they went I think they still have domestic
They-
scopes. I thought, right? Like their high end.
Yeah,
ones,
so
like the 2000
all their high end stuff is made here in North Carolina.
That'd be cool to go see that actually.
Connolly Springs.
Yeah.
So those would be cool. We're gonna be getting some of the. We'll get both the domestic and the other. The others are more like value based, and I'm sure they're good. But me, I'm a sucker for domestic manufacturing. So I'm excited to get those in hand and see how those perform. But anyway, back to the business side of it. I just forgot about that for a second.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for SHOT Show is have a plan. Don't overdrink and overeat when you're there. And stay as close to the event as you can. And that goes for any industry event.
Another factor is if you do stay in the Venetian, just know that the food there is everything in Vegas is slightly, especially right on the strip. If you're willing to get off the strip, you can save a lot of money. But again, getting off the strip costs
You
money.
might end up taking an Uber, yeah.
Yeah. So if you have to ride out of the strip, if you can walk off, I recommend that in Vegas. But if you want to ride away and try to save money, you can. But at the end of the day, again, it might be you got to weigh the value there.
And you can do stuff somewhat affordably, but I'd plan if you're going budget, you're probably looking at $50 a day per person for food, and that's if you're.
Yeah, I mean, like the Venetian has a Subway in it. It has Chipotle. Of course, they're going to have
Chipotle's probably $35 though for.
Well, sure, yeah. Everything's going to have slightly inflated prices, but they got like a Panda Express. Like they have like a little like food court, and then of course they have the nice restaurants.
I
too,
bet
like
you if you go on the
Teo.
Panda Express here in Cary, North Carolina, it would have been $12.50, and you said it was like $25.
Yeah,
Probably a 2x premium.
yeah, it's probably a 2x premium if you're in the Venetian.
Yeah.
But again, first of all, don't go at noon. The other thing that was cool. So we did do that one time. We got Panda Express for lunch one day because it was quick, easy, and we started to get it at noon. Realized what time it was. It was like, let's just go back to the shop floor real quick and just handle a few things, and then come back at 1. That's what we did. We came back. We got the food, and we went up to the room because the little food court area is like not big enough to handle convention level traffic. So we just took it up to the room, and it was like that was the ticket. Like you could take that up there and eat, and then you just go right back down. And
Yeah.
the way the elevators were situated, the elevators are right around the corner from the food court. So it was quick, and then it was awesome. I mean, this was by far the best shot I've experienced.
But you had your meetings planned out in advance.
I did.
And you said like an hour. Your meetings end up being what, 5 to 30 minutes, depending on.
Yeah, of course, I only had one that went like the full hour basically, but
Yeah.
we segued.
Yeah.
So it was with PSA, and we went over to the AAC booth because the
suppressors,
Advanced
yeah.
Armament Company booth, and of course because they own Advanced Armament as well. So we went and talked to them as well, and met everybody at Advanced Armament. So that was good. But all the other ones were 5 to 30 minutes. So.
And when you do that, you allow an hour, though, to make your way between.
Right.
When you go there, study the floor plan, because you can cover all of SHOT in a half day if you're only spot hitting certain booths.
Yeah.
If you got to hit 10 booths, you can do it in a day.
Oh, yeah. Now, the floor plan is good, but if you don't already know the Venetian and how it's laid out, it's tough, because I did have to I was trying to school Brad, so like next year we can move a little bit quicker too. But, they have the SHOT Show app, which is very helpful, but you have to...
still don't understand how to get over to Caesar's Forum completely.
I got it now.
Okay.
But this is the second or third year of Caesar's Forum. I think the first year is the first year after COVID. Didn't go that year. So this is my second year with Caesar's Forum. I got it now, but they also have these convenient little people standing there saying, like, SHOT Show Bridge. The bridge takes you to Caesar's Forum.
Yeah.
So I got that.
I thought Caesar's Forum was actually in Caesar's.
Oh, no.
Dude, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was walking, and when follow all the guys that look like Chris Costa. Follow all the Chris Costa wannabe lookalikes.
You're going to be following a lot of people.
That it is funny to me that Chris Costa, great character. He hasn't really been like super relevant in the industry for 10 years now.
I think his aesthetic, his look has just
It's
just stuck in the industry. It's kind of like it's kind of like tactical pants.
No, Chris Costa's look is way more popular than even tactical pants at SHOT.
At SHOT,
Yeah.
they're tit for tat. I bet
there are guys that I think are going there. They're getting their beard dyed. They're having their hair done at like a salon or something right before SHOT Show.
Man, you are offending a lot of people right now. I'm glad our viewership's not real high. You are upsetting a lot of folks. But anyway, yeah, I mean, SHOT's good. Again, I do think it should be relatively reserved for industry. Not to shun anybody, it's just like that is where business is taking place. Yes, it's to oogle new stuff, but it's the business of the new stuff. So, like, if you want to actually get it in your hands, go let the business people acquire it so they can get it to you.
And I got to be honest, like, I didn't have an interest in going this year because every time you go to check out the new stuff, that is not why I'd go to SHOT at this point, because you're going to sit there, you're going to have 20 people in line, and you're looking at the new Hudson H9. You're not really going to get...
I've got one.
I know. Well, I know I'm using that as an example. But whatever it is, you're not really going to be able to check it out in depth because, at least if you're polite, you're going to feel like, okay, I'm going to let the people behind me.
Well, and two, like, if you want to actually, like, really go into it, like, you got to go shoot it. And that's Monday, and that's pretty much media only.
You shoot 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get into the media event.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry to getting this stuff is not that high. It's not.
You say that, but, like, it is if you're an average person. If you're in the industry, which we are, it's not that high. Like, you get in because we own companies in the industry.
Yeah, and
so
do media. And
if you're Joe Blow that's just, I like guns and watch a lot of YouTube, you're not getting in.
I will say this, though. Going through and shooting 5 rounds through a pistol, like, you watch most of the videos, they have 5 rounds loaded in the mag. That just isn't appealing to me at this point.
Yeah.
Like...
Which, I mean, again, the Hudson, I put 1,000 rounds through it. So, like, if I went to the media, or like next year, I plan to go to the actual range, day because I've been all these years and I've never been to that. But
with your business and how you have a whole different side of your business than what I have to mine, so it makes more sense.
right, and to like, I would have not touched the H9. I'd be like, y'all are good. In the last day and a half, I've shot 1,000 rounds through the Hudson H9. I don't need to shoot 5 more rounds through it. So I mean, I would have liked to shot the PCC if they had one. But again, I would have been focused on all the other stuff that was there. Because I've already run that one down.
And so, like, straight up, you guys are familiar with my company. I probably will not be going back to shot unless there's some meetings that I cannot handle on the phone, or it's somebody that I've got a couple meetings where it's not worth, if I have to meet them in person, not worth me flying directly to them or them flying to me. I will not be going to shot until we start doing dealer sales. Because you have more of the marketing side with your blog, whereas me it's more of a product side. It doesn't make sense unless I'm doing dealer sales.
Yeah. And two, I have found a lot of value and again, I have a different side of the business. But I've found a lot of value in meeting people face to face. Just putting face to names, and some of the people that we do marketing with the bags and with everything else, I've never met them in person. Yeah. I've only talked to them on the phone or messaged them or emailed them. It's always good to meet those people face to face and thank them for helping promote Lynx Defense and using our stuff and giving us feedback and things like that.
And if more of my media guys start going to shot,
absolutely,
but it's understand there's not enough of them at this point. That's when I'll take them all to dinner or whatever, try to do a couple dinners with them. But even then, man, like my ideal shot show would be just have a room with a Venetian, not have to go on the actual floor for more than a half day. That's
like it's very chaotic. Of course, the going joke of SHOT Show has always been the people with the crates that they tow behind them. Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, so they can throw all their patches and everything in, and it's like, and that's what I told Brad. I was like, if you want all the swag that you can possibly handle, bring your backpack. I was like, wear your backpack. I don't think he ever did, but we ended up getting like what our pockets would hold. But
that's why you're probably taking them back next year because you did.
But I mean, like we got everything our pockets could hold, but it was mostly like the companies I'm working with. Like I got all of Palmetto's stuff. I got some rugged stuff, and pretty much all the companies I met with, if they had little swag stuff, I grab it, 'cause I'll throw it on my patch wall.
You see me when I go to these events, I purposely do not carry a backpack.
Yeah,
for that reason.
And two, I think it helps to people don't try to hand you their printed stuff because they're like, oh, you don't have any way to carry it. I'm like, nope, sorry. And like what I found is all that printed stuff is you'll bring it back. And again, I'm not a buying for a retail store.
Yeah.
So it doesn't do me as much good. Those guys can take them and put them on their counters and for people to look at, or take them back for when they do buying, they can flip through. But like me, it's just like, okay, all of this is on your website. I can get what I need to from there. So please don't give me any of that. And so, kind of, I had a couple people hand it to me. I was like, oh, I don't want to carry this big thing. And most of them are pretty understanding. They're like, you don't worry about it. No, you don't want to carry that thing around. But I
do think some of them, though, are like paid by how many they give out.
the salespeople? Yeah, maybe.
They're pretty pushy.
Maybe. But yeah. I keep thinking about guns, and which Chris actually is releasing a V3 Vector.
What are the changes on that?
They're actually pretty substantial. So you know how they used to have on the back, their stock system was the AR buffer tube system. So now they've actually done it to where it can be a pick rail. So you can take it and put a pick rail on it. And I think they have a...
So you can run the SIG, the J Max,
you can,
the A3 Tactical.
Anything like that. And they made their own folding stock with a pick rail. So that's game changer.
I have that on my, that's what's on my CMMG Descent now that it's SBR'd.
What's that?
The Chris.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So, and they also, they made it a little bit thinner. So they kind of cut in anywhere that they could cut out some bulk material and some weight. They did. And they did a few other things. You can change out the pistol grip now. It's AR grip interchangeable. But you know how the Vector on the bottom connects to the bottom of the grip? That'll come off, and of course, it's not going to be there if you put another AR grip on it. But now you can kind of control the angle of your grip, so you can change
cool,
your
yeah.
ergonomics on the Vector. They did a couple other things, and I'm getting ready to do a review of the Gen 2 Vector that I have. But and I'll touch on that's another one of those where they're expecting Q2. I think everybody was saying Q2 for actual releases, but yeah, so that was cool to see, because like I walked by the Chris booth probably 3 times before I finally stopped in and talked to him, and because I was like, man, I just bought a V2 and they probably didn't change that much, and then I looked at it and I'm like, dang, they did change a good bit. But I think they're all positive improvements.
For the reason you bought the gun, though, I think the V2 almost makes more
Correct.
sense.
And I would never get rid of the V2 just to, when I SBR'd it. And two, I could get, like, I would buy a V3 to have a V3, but like I wouldn't get rid of the V2 because it's iconic to me. Like I got it because it's like, oh man, it's a video game movie gun. It's more of that than it is, oh, this is, a gun that I want to use day in and day out.
So one thing I will say I've noticed with SHOT, it seems like every year has been the year of the suppressor to a certain, like, not saying that was the main theme this year, but steady improvements.
Yes. So
in that space.
I think, man, Huxworks is, I feel like right now, the can company to beat.
Yeah. Well, they're charging like an insane amount of money. I bought one. It's still in jail. I didn't do it through you, so I haven't been able to shoot it.
Well, and everything I've seen, that it might give up a little bit in decibel rating. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really dug into it like that. But the fact that you don't get gas back, and if you've shot suppressed and you've really gotten down on it, even if you don't get down on it and you get 5 in a relatively short span, you're getting gassed out.
So if you're shooting a supersonic round like a 5.56, I would rather have less gas blowback and have it be a little bit louder.
Absolutely.
Versus, because you're wearing ear pro anyway.
I don't know anybody shooting supersonic 5.56 without ear pro. That's just, I mean, it's hearing safe, but
it's dumb.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Don't ruin your ears.
If you're shooting one coyote or something.
Yeah. If you're hunting, okay, that's perfectly understandable because you want to be able to listen to your surroundings.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're out there shooting on the range, put some ear protection. It'll be silly.
But for like a 300 blackout, I've on the Descent, or I have the SIG flow through can. Not sure that was the best choice for that gun. It's a 300 blackout, even with subsonic or supersonic. Probably would rather have a non-flow through, but the zero gas blowback in my face.
The flow through cans, I think, are what's going to be the future for now. I think that's going to be the thing. It's going to be the thing to beat, and I really like to see some more innovation in the can space, but 3D printing is, I feel like, probably the future of cans.
It's already here. It's been here a couple of years.
Yeah. It's just going forward. It's what's the standard for cans.
I'm excited to see things go lighter and more niche because, for a 6mm arc, I want a light can that's going to bring sound down a little bit, but it's not going to add a ton of weight to the gun. Doesn't have to be incredibly quiet. Just needs to tone things down a bit. Whereas, you really got to figure out. There's not one can to beat them all. I think, and the more cans I get, the more I realize there's no such thing as can standardization. It's what you want to do.
Yeah,
dictates.
And like, there's so many good companies out there. I mean, like, there's so many good cans that it's hard. Like, because we, of course, we do can roundups, if you will, like what's the best can. Well, what do you want to do? It's really kind of, that's what it boils down to. What do you want to do with it? And
if you're going to shoot a pistol suppressed,
you want a relatively light can because, well,
the Microtech, because it's quiet.
The Microtech is wildly quiet. It's crazy. But like
it's crazy expensive too.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about not when you compare it to the Huxworks.
Their 9mm cans, I think, are well under 1,000.
I don't even know.
They're like 800-ish.
Don't ask me because I hadn't. I look at 2 different prices. There's MSRP, and then of course I have dealer. So
Yeah.
I probably could tell you dealer price before I could tell you what MSRP on most stuff is. Because that's what I look at most of the time. When I log into the sites to purchase guns, it's dealer
And
price.
some of these companies have really good dealer margins.
And some of them don't. But yeah, cans is a whole nother animal. Like we could do a whole nother podcast on just suppressors.
Probably should at some point.
Yeah, we probably will. But I would like to probably. We would have to figure out what exactly we're going to talk about because we could go down so many rabbit holes there. And of course, I have cans from the entire industry spectrum. Like Huxworks probably only
Float
major.
is the only thing you don't have.
Yeah, floater's the only thing
And
I don't
shotgun
have
can.
right now, and a shotgun can. But we'll probably fix both of those here in the very near future.
The shotgun cans seem to be something that's
Yeah, JK Armament and I think Silencer Co.
Silencer Co. is the OG.
Yeah, they have that.
Huxworks announced their,
I think yeah.
but it's only compatible right now with the Genesis Arms Breacher model. I'm excited about the Huxworks can because I just want to see where that
Yeah.
man home defense. Imagine a Genesis Arms gun. You've got with their 15 round drum, 15 rounds of 12 gauge with like low
You won't have any
buckshot.
drywall left, but the intruder will be dead.
Yeah, you and if you can get it suppressed, maybe get something that's right on the edge, it might be reasonably quiet.
Yeah, I mean for a shotgun.
Yeah.
I haven't. The only shotgun can I've shot is the JK Armament I shot at Express Fest, and it was cool.
As far as shooting animals with calibers, like buckshot has always been the best one hit right down
Yeah,
effect for me as far as deer, coyotes,
yeah.
anything I can get close enough to. So for home defense, I do not want to be messing around if somebody's dumb enough to come in my house and wants to do harm to me.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll definitely do one just totally on cans at some point, because we can go down a massive rabbit hole. It is a huge rabbit hole, but it's a good one. I mean, it's you know me. I'm like, if I'm gonna shoot a gun, I'm gonna try to suppress it.
Did you guys check out the Mod Light booth?
No, we never made it to the Mod Light booth.
They released a couple. They released a micro pistol light.
Yeah, I did see I've seen all the photos, but like, there's not enough time. And next year, I've extended the stay out, coming in early, leaving later, which sucks. But it's like, man, I could have used another day to get more done.
Is Brad going to go that whole time?
Yeah, as far as I know. I hope.
If he's smart, he'll come in a day later or leave a day early.
No, he would leave a day early before he left a day later because he wants to go to the range day.
Yeah,
So-
if he's smart, he'll because.
But I think next year. I think next year we're going to try to do more like video content. Try to show more. Like this year we were going to try, but with all the meetings we had set up and everything, it was just like trying to get the video on top of it. It was like, no, let's not do that this year. Let's prepare.
You almost need to send him with somebody to film him. Bring 2 people with you, and then you do your stuff, and then come in and help them when you've got spare time.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting one for sure next year. We'll see. We'll see how that goes because it's going to be a big one, I think. I don't know. Like, this was probably, I will say, SHOT Show 2024 was and I'm trying to think back because it's been a long time. Probably the most products announced and released and most exciting SHOT Show that there's been in years.
Yeah.
Since even before COVID. So there were years where, like you said, they take a rail and they just remill it and Cerakote it a new color and call it innovation. And this year you've seen actual companies come out with actually new products that go outside of their existing lines. Yeah. And I think that's what SHOT Show is really about. Like, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, you're not Apple. We can't expect you to every year have the latest and greatest iPhone or the latest and greatest gun. But granted, Apple even just kind of like upgrades a couple things or picks one thing to focus on and then upgrades that in the phone. So it's like the phone hasn't changed looks in years. Yeah. But, we can't expect these gun companies to R&D, test, and release a whole new product in 11 months. That's what you got because January's, You're coming off to that SHOT Show. You can't count the month of January.
Yeah.
And then you got to also put it in production on top of all of your other stuff.
If any company's doing it, it's PSA.
Yeah, but even PSA is making so much and doing so much. They can't let all their other product lines drop.
Well, and look at what PSA is doing, though. They're kind of doing, we talked about the Mexican restaurant theory where you go into a Mexican restaurant, you have tortillas, you have chicken, steak, shrimp, salsa, rice, and beans. And
Cheese. Don't forget the
cheese,
cheese.
And onions and peppers.
Cilantro.
And cilantro.
But anyway,
And they
the
turn
point-
all those
the-
things
the point
into
is
a menu with 100, and that's
Yeah.
what PSA is doing with their gun line, though. The Dagger, they make slight changes to make this 5.7 PDW.
You got 20 ingredients, and you can make 100 different things.
Yes.
So, PSA is doing a bang-up job. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of companies doing bang-up jobs, making new stuff.
Didn't mean to turn
making
this into
stuff.
the PSA podcast.
Yeah,
but
it's not the PSA podcast, but, they just came out swinging this year, and I don't think anybody expected the volume of stuff that they were just going to put out there. Granted, all of its concept, and none of it's, I wouldn't say none, but 99% of it's not coming to market.
Well, I think the brilliance of what they're doing, like most of it's either based off the Jackal and
They've got us talking about them.
Yeah, and I am not a budget,
No.
but they're making guns that I would again not being able to spend, to build a AK-esque whatever that Jackal is. I'm probably gonna buy one of those.
Yeah.
It's gonna come in, I would guess, between $800 and $1,200.
Yeah, depending on like if you get it with the JMax stuff, or
Yeah.
if you just get it with the wood, or whatever.
Whatever
Yeah.
they do, I can justify buying that at that price point as a fun toy.
Yeah,
A lot of people can, whereas I'm really impressed with what they're doing.
yeah. You have to look at what they're doing, and they're not, and that's what a lot of people don't.
They don't take themselves too seriously.
No, man. If you actually go and talk to the people at the booth, they're genuinely just like us. Like they're good people,
Yeah.
and they just
We hung out with him. I got to talk with the
Yeah.
guy that runs the H&R side for a while. I got to talk to Josiah, one of the guys who was originally on the ground floor, is Jamin's brother.
Yep.
Uh,
All those guys are just really good people, and that's the thing. Like you got a good group of people doing the right thing, and have the best interest of the industry at heart, and not just the industry, but the actual people in this country.
and there's no elitism.
No,
And there's just a really realistic.
and they're killing it. Like they're a huge company.
Yeah.
And there's just, man, Jamin's out there walking around shop floor with the X57, showing it to people.
Probably just walking up to random people,
Yeah,
right?
just
Yeah.
anybody. And he wouldn't let you hold it too long because he wanted to show it to the next person, which I get. But so it's super. I mean, just like everybody from top to bottom in that company is good. And just to dispel one thing about PSA, and then we'll wrap this up. But everybody's like, oh, they're owned by a investment group. Just so you understand, JJE Capital owns Palmetto State Armory and all the subsidies underneath it.
It stands for Jamin.
It's the three
yeah.
owners of the business's initials have a holding company that owns all the others. Their fundamental mission has not changed. The
Yeah.
original owners have not changed. So to say that it's owned by some investment company is just kind of silly, and you just don't understand what
It'd
you're
be
talking
like
about.
me, you, and Brad, or me, you, and Workman starting a thing, calling it, HM or
Yeah.
BHM or whatever.
And then just
Yeah.
putting all of our companies underneath it.
Yeah.
Like it's silly to not know what you're talking about and then to go out here and just spiel this nonsense.
But it is understandable because there are a lot of companies that are owned by
There
these.
are a lot of like Vista Outdoors and like the Remington's been bought and sold so many times. It did end up in a, but that's why it failed, because it ended up in number crunchers' hands, and they just they didn't
don't
understand the
understand the
industry.
culture.
Yeah, they don't understand the culture. They didn't understand the industry, and so that's why it failed, and that's why they got sold out. That's why they.
And I've gone, we've talked to multiple people at multiple companies, larger companies, smaller companies. You can tell whether or not these people are, whether it's somebody who got the job because of their qualifications from another industry or somebody has a legit interest in the product.
Yeah.
And PSA is a company when you go to, they're not geeks. They don't know every spec on whatever their product.
No, but they genuinely like what they're doing.
Yes.
And they believe in what they're doing, which is
Yes.
spreading freedom. And, I've talked to quite a few. I know, the couple of the media guys over there, and even a couple of people that do like sales and stuff. And, I try to talk to them. I'm terrible with names, but I remember faces really well. But thankfully they're all wearing badges. So I'm like, hey, but so I go talk to them, and like the one guy, he was like, if you don't go on the site and vote for the X57, I'll punch you in the face. I'm like, don't worry, I've already voted for it, man. So they're just down to earth. I mean, people are cool guys. So and honestly, even like DD and all these other companies, they have a lot of down to earth cool people too, and they have everybody has a different corporate culture, and so they have to somewhat abide by that. They have jobs that they have to keep, obviously, so like they can only do and say so much. So sometimes it's not.
PSA seems to give you guys a lot of leeway on that.
Yeah, they're all pretty down to earth, but that's to say a lot of other companies are too. Like I know one or two of the guys that work at Rugged Suppressors, and they're super cool dudes, just like everybody else. And man, I'm just everybody's kind of it's the industry. You have to realize
the smaller companies though that I'm generally more impressed with on.
Yeah, because I mean, like some people get a little big for their britches, especially if they start moving volume, and they think they're better than other people. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of these companies that are
doing
cool.
really well.
Yeah, doing really well, but like they don't think they're above anybody, and that takes a lot, I think. Because when you're like up here and like these guys are down here, you're just kind of like, hey, but it's better not to be that way.
Well, and a lot of times
because these guys down here can come up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's you can't treat people.
A lot of times the guys that act like that, you go through and look at the ATF numbers.
Yeah,
they're not moving the volume you think they were.
Right, but they put on a front, and it's better to just be who you are. I've always found that knowing where you're at and not necessarily acting accordingly, but like, hey, I know I'm a little fish in a big pond, but I like this pond. It's a homie pond, like. So it's just kind of mingle and be cordial with everybody, and I mean, everybody's generally pretty nice in this industry. Yeah. I've only had like one or two bad interactions where I'm just like, man, bump those guys. Like, why are they being like that? Like, I mean, but I'm not going to name any names, but they were a shot, and I was just like, unless they change their marketing team, I don't want to talk to them. They were not cool. It's like they're just not cool people, and I mean, like. We're down to earth. This is how we talk to everybody pretty much. So
yeah,
but I just one bad interaction though.
Well,
mess you up.
I'm glad it was a good year. I'm looking forward to see how the rest of 2024 plays out.
The big thing will be is how many of these companies. Like I think Smith, I think theirs is ready to roll. I think Henry's is rolling, and I think Marlin has gotten some of theirs out of the dealers.
Marlin's just going to be a slow trickle until they up production.
Yeah, and
I think they're moving a decent amount of volume.
I think
the
demand's really high on theirs because I mean Marlin was not shipping anything for so long, and then when Ruger picked them up, it just took them a while to probably retool and get everything going. But I really think it'll just boil down to how soon and how many of these guns can these companies get out there, and that'll really tell you how 2024 will go.
Yeah.
If they can get some of these, if PSA can get some of these concept guns out, if Arrow can get these lever guns out with Stag, I think it'll do well. Yeah. So I think it'll be a good year. I think it'll be a fun year because I like lever guns. I have a Henry Model X. And
well, I'm looking forward to see how NRAM goes for you. And anybody that's watching this podcast, if you're going to NRAM, make sure to stop by the Lynx Defense booth and check out everything they've got there. Put that on your calendar.
Yeah. We'll probably be struggling, so just come on by and check out the bags. Because it's probably only going to be me and my wife manning the booth this year. So
I almost feel guilty, like I should fly down to Dallas, but I really don't want to go.
Come on down. You can.
I'll throw on a Lynx Defense shirt.
Yeah,
and not say anything about my company.
You can help out with the gun bags. But yeah, we'll be there. So if you want to put your hands on them in person, we'll have some. We probably won't do any like direct sales. We'll probably just allow people to buy it online, maybe.
Now,
do some like free shipping or something.
If you want to come by at the end of the show, and
we'll probably fleece them at the end of the show, so we don't have to send them back. Yeah, we'll have probably a good discount, so we just don't have to send them back. I mean, they're going to be brand new bags.
Yeah,
just, a lot of people will probably have finger diddle them, but
demo models.
Yeah, so sell them at demo prices. But, well, I guess that wraps up our SHOT Show wrap-up. There's probably so much more we could have talked about and covered, but I mean, you could talk for 3 days on
We probably could.
Yeah,
so I'm getting
nobody
kinda
wants-
hungry too. So
Yeah, nobody wants to listen to 3 days worth of SHOT Show and not be there. So,
yeah,
well, we'll wrap this up.
sounds good, man.
All right. Whew.